Hello, Dale. Welcome to LAR. I want to thank you so much for your time, for joining us today here in LAR. Dale, I always like to start at the beginning. Can you tell us how you got involved in the industry, how you began to get involved in the markets, and tell us a little bit about the beginning of your journey? Sure, Dale. Thank you very much for having me here today. It started after I graduated from college, Northern Illinois University in 1975, which our country was in the midst of a recession. I was a journalism major, and so I was interested in possibly writing or doing PR for a company. Speech was my minor, but when I came out, the only jobs or careers that were available at that time were basically in sales for big insurance companies, et cetera, which really didn't turn me on. So I had a friend from high school who I talked to on the phone. He said, "You know what, Dale? You ought to come down to the Chicago Mercantile Exchange and check it out." And so I decided to do it. And I got dressed and I got on the train and I took the L downtown. And I'm walking around this building and I'm looking for a trading floor. And I can't find it. So I asked somebody, yes, can you tell me where the trading floor is? And they said, "What? The trading floor? You're at the Chicago Merchandise Mart." And I went, "Oh boy, I'm at the Merchandise Mart. That's where all the wholesalers had showrooms to sell their goods to stores and retailers, et cetera, et cetera." So I was thinking about it. Oh man, I ended up in the wrong location. Maybe I'll just go home and go check out the Merc another day. But I was driven, and I got back on that train and found the CME. I went up to the gallery where you get a whole view of the floor and you see all the trading rings and pits and you hear the noise. And all of a sudden there was a big roar on the floor and the pork belly market went fast market. And I see these guys in a frenetic buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell. And I go, wow, this is amazing. You know, I went to college in the middle of the cornfields in DeKalb, Illinois, but I never thought about commodities. You know, it wasn't even in my mind at all. But when I saw the floor and the energy that was on the floor, I became very, I would say, motivated. And I said, I don't know what's happening here, but I'm sure glad I'm here. I'm going to check it out. So my friend Gary got me a guest pass so that I could go onto the trading floor. And I just started walking around from desk to desk, desk to desk. All the big brokers had their trading operations on the floor with banks of phones and teletype machines. And I'd go up and go, you know, I really don't care what the pay is. I just want to learn. And I did that a few times. And then I went to the trading operations of Dean Witter. For those of you old timers, you may remember the name. At one time, they bought Sears, and you could go to Sears and buy a vacuum cleaner and open up a stock account with Dean Witter. And this man, John Greco, saw that I wanted to learn and could tell that I might be a hard worker. So Dean Witter hired me as a runner. And my duties were, it was a part-time job, just market hours. It paid, take a guess how much they paid me. $75 a week to take paper, the orders written up by clerks, to different pits, either to wait, they could be market orders, they could be price orders, They could be stop loss orders. And back then, they just started the international monetary market, and they were trading currencies on a chalkboard. So I learned my way around the floor, where the different pits were, and just enjoyed being there. And it was a big community of people. It was very social. The floor was also very social. So you got to know people. And I decided I wanted to learn, how do you know where to buy something and where to sell something? So the CME was offering a course in technical analysis, and I signed up for the course being taught by a man named Alan Rohrbeck. You could still find Alan's around. He's on Twitter. And our textbook for the course was Technical Analysis of Stock Trends. And I'm going, hey, I don't want to learn how to trade stocks. I want to learn how to trade commodities, I told Alan. So Alan taught me that a head and shoulders in IBM is like a head and shoulders in cattle, that a chart is a chart is a chart, and the only difference is leverage and volatility, or beta. So that was my Bible. I learned about continuation formations, reversal formations, wedges. I learned about gaps, breakaway gaps, runaway gaps, measuring gaps, exhaustion gaps. So I started charting the markets, and really didn't have enough money at that time out of college to really set up an account. But I knew some of the brokers in the gold pit. They just started trading gold. It became legal for U.S. citizens to own gold again in 1975. And I put on a gold short. A floor trader put it on for me. Gold went from 200 to 100. I didn't ride it all the way down, but my first trade was a winner. There is a superstition that turned out to be a little bit, I would say, prophetic, that it was bad luck for your first trade to be a winning trade. Yeah, I didn't believe it. But I did have my struggles, okay, for many years of trying to stay alive, support myself in this industry as a young guy, okay? So as a runner, I couldn't even afford to have my own apartment. You know, you have your freedom in college, and then you come home and try and find a way to make a living, to start your life. I was working at the Merc and living with mom, okay? So that's how I got started. And that's how I began charting. And after that, I decided to become a broker. And Alan, who taught the course, was with a commodity brokerage firm called Madoff & Sons. So they sponsored me to take my Series 3 exam. And the rest is history. I became a registered rep, a Series 3 commodities broker for Madoff & Sons. And if I went out and told you every winding, curving road that I went through from there, it would take us about 4 hours for us to reconstruct my life. So that's how it all began for me. So I hope that you guys, your audience now, can have an understanding of that I started like them, not with any material wealth, but just a desire to learn the industry, to learn how to trade, to learn how to be a good technician. I carry my chart book around with me everywhere I went. It had food, you know, ketchup and mustard stains on it, coffee stains on it. I'd turn it around. I'd draw lines that no one else could see. And that's how it all began for me. Well, thank you, Dale, for sharing that with us. So if you don't mind, perhaps you could share your screen with us, and you could tell us a little bit about what you do in LAR and what kind of trading you're involved in. Perhaps you could do that right now. So, okay, thank you, Dale. LAR is one of the most beautiful experiments I've ever been involved in. I have moderated, trained traders in chat trading / trading rooms for many years, where it was mainly up to me to generate the ideas. I had to overcome that if I didn't know something, to realize I'm better off boring people than misleading them. I did get communities and other traders to collaborate and share their ideas. Then about 5 years ago, I started doing webinars on FX Street and came up with the idea of having a live analysis room where traders share their ideas, where I could go out and interview some of the best traders, analysts, money managers on the globe, because it would be non-competitive. I'm not selling anything to people that are members of LAR. I'm just bringing good content and information to them, and some of my teachings and teachings of the community and the sharing of knowledge and ideas together. So that's what we've been doing in LAR for the last 2.5 years. I have many people that began with us 2.5 years ago that still come. They may take time off, and it's interesting when regulars aren't around, there will always be a question: where's Alien? Where's Ricardo? Where's Armand? So it really is a community, because if it wasn't, people wouldn't miss traders, members, friends, whatever label you want to put on it. When they're not there, it would just be, oh, everyone's replaceable, and I don't care if I ever hear another idea from Ricardo, or I don't care if I hear another idea from Goldie. And we have really created a mastermind group of people that come in every day willing to share their hard-fought knowledge, which costs them emotionally, which costs them financially, and yet they come in here and they share this knowledge without receiving anything in return except the feeling that they're helping others. So that's what I do in LAR. Wow, what a great project, Dale. So we had a major move last week when Draghi disappointed. I was wondering if you could give us your view on what you think is happening here. Take a look at a few different instruments and tell us what your views are going forward into the Fed next week. Sure, Dale, I'd be happy to do that. I like to start with some daily charts. And to me, it looks like risk off is occurring here, where we have a failing rally in the S&Ps. If you just draw a trend line off here, it looks like under yesterday's low, we could correct at least to 1940. The big story is something that I had forecasted in the room for well over 5 days, maybe a few weeks, that the dollar was vulnerable, that you couldn't find anyone saying where the euro could go on the upside. All you heard about were downside targets. So I started getting divergences in the dollar index right here. And then we had the big event. I believe this is a pretty important inflection point right here. 97 was the breakout, so we almost got to it yesterday. And it's my view that we're going to have this move from par 50. This is about 3.5, 330 from here is going to take us down towards 94.50, 94. Those are my targets going into 2016. Euro pound, I call the right shoulder before that occurred. The crude oil has everyone's eyes focused on the crude. I actually think that there's not the final bottom, but a bottom setting up here in crude. Over the next several trading days, many Larians have shown a 35, 36 potential target for the crude. Here's your crude oil daily. So we're getting into this grinding territory, capitulation here. And when I go to my crude chart, use FX Pro's platform here. I'm looking for one more drive down here, possibly 36, 35 in the next several days, which I think will set up a pretty interesting counter trend opportunity. And with that, I think that we could be looking for potential highs in USD CAD. There's glaring divergence on the weekly Canada here. I teach 3 drive formations. Here's 1, here's 2, and now we're in the 3rd. RSI is the 2nd lower peak, so looking for reversal signals and a potential correction in USD CAD with a reflex rally coming in the crude oil market, and using dollar strength into the Fed. If the dollar rallies into the Fed, right after the Fed, using dollar strength to sell into it. And that's what I see going forward. Well, Dale, I want to thank you for interviewing me today. It's my hope that you continue your great work with LAR, that you continue to build up and edify people the way you've been doing for the last 2.5 years. And let's get together and do this real soon, like right after this interview is over. I'm going to turn it over to you now, Dale. Good hunting to your community, Forex Stop Hunter. And I'll see everybody real soon. Adios.